I was talking to my grandma a couple weeks ago. She's 96. She knows like her time on this earth is coming to an end soon. And she was like, I'm really sad about that, but like I'm also relieved a little bit. She's like, I don't get it. And I was like, Mima, it can be both. Like, I'm gonna be so sad when you're not here anymore, and I can also at the same time be so happy you are still here, right? I can be sad when you're gone, and I can also be so happy that like I remember the songs you taught us when I was like 6 years old and we were on car trips together. Like it all exists at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's a human need to label things and to make them black or white.
I Am Consciously Curious, a podcast for those that are searching for meaning and fulfillment in their lives. My name is Victor Chan, and I'm on a mission to find out why people do what they do. I've interviewed white-collar to blue-collar, entrepreneurs to passion projects, and life is just too short to not produce meaningful work. Thanks for tuning in. And right now, today, guys, for those of you listening, we have Austin, or he goes by Austin Ryan, and but he is also known as Uncommon Plant Guy.
Yeah.
And my wife and I had the great pleasure of taking one of your kokedama classes, and happy to report they're still alive.
Yes.
I know you said it. They're hard to kill, but like you can. It's very easy, even from a visual aspect, from a distance of like, I need some water, and then when you pick them up, they're extra light. But it was a good way to. A good date night, I guess, to get out of the house and try something different than just going out to eat for something.
Totally.
And so I guess to start off, like what would you like the listener or myself to know before doing a deep dive into your history about this journey of Uncommon Plant Guy that you've been on since, I believe, the pandemic?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like we have so much to learn from plants, which I think sounds really cringy sometimes, but like the thing I love about the workshops I teach is that they're like 90 minutes. They're an escape from the world for sure, but it's like 90 minutes dedicated to this one little plant, and you're like building the home that it's going to live in forever. But then like it doesn't require too much effort from you afterwards, right?
Yeah.
There's like an upfront investment of like 90 minutes in the work you're actually doing, but then I think it becomes, if you can understand your plants, like really rewarding to take care of them.
Yeah. It's not in the sense of like easy to take, like it doesn't take zero effort per se. But I think it's a good like gateway to plant world.
Yeah. And like I have this saying that like there's no emergency in plants. Like there's rarely something that happens where like this has to get solved now. Like plants don't really operate on the same way that time that we operate on, right? The thing I love about my plants is that like I see them every day, and I might know like you needed water a week ago, you should have been repotted 6 months ago, forgot you were there, right? But like I don't have to take action on any of them on any given day except to just like notice them. So like when you're talking about your kokedama, being able to tell from far away like, oh, it could use some water. Well, the great thing is like it could use some water for 4 weeks and it would be fine, right?
Wow.
So there's like
a lot of grace.
Yeah, totally. And it's like being more present with them and being able to understand where they're at for that day is like all you really need. And there will be a day where you're like, okay, now it's time to water. But it's like not an emergency, right?
Yeah. I mean, one of the lessons, like a direct lesson is to slow down perhaps.
Yeah.
Through this process, are there any other lessons that come to mind through working with these plants?
I mean, the thing my therapist said to me one day, which like got me right in the heart, we were talking about my plants. And I was talking about how, you know, they're beautiful. And like, if they die though, I'm kind of like, it died, right?
No way,
like,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I also like frequently throw away plants.
Okay.
If I have a ton of them, but like if it's not bringing me joy, or if it's like, I don't know what's going on with it, it's like, I'm not going to be bullied by this thing living in my house, right? So to throw it away and to be like, oh, there's always going to be more. And also you can't compare one to the other. I have plants, I have like 50 of one kind of plant.
Okay.
And if like one of them's not doing well, I don't blame it on myself and I don't blame it on the plant. Like I could deep dive and like research and figure out why it didn't work, or I could like hedge my losses and like toss that one and then keep the other 49 alive.
Did you always have that ability to be detached?
No.
Oh, okay. Like they are unique organisms, and so it would be understandable if you felt a type of way about like, oh my goodness, like did I not do enough for this plant? What else could I have? And you could still have those takeaways from it, but to be a little bit more attached to that process.
Yeah, and like plants are not meant to grow indoors.
Oh.
Right? Like they need the sunlight.
So we're a little bit selfish in that aspect.
Right. So it's like if you can keep anything alive inside, like it's like keeping a fish out of water. Like you're doing it. That's not the environment they're meant for, you know? Yeah. And I know that people often have really tight attachments to their plants. So I have a plant at home, and it's a cutting from a plant my grandma got 45 years ago when her husband died.
Okay.
So like that's awesome, and I love that I have that story, but also if that plant died, I could like honor the sadness I feel, but also like that plant came from something, and like it's all more connected in a way than we realize too. So realizing that like just because that one plant specifically died doesn't mean I can't take the way I feel about that and the energy of like remembering my grandma, right? And like put that onto another plant and then have it be the surrogate for it. Right? Like it's a choice I can make.
Yeah. Can you elaborate? So you said you're going to, what do you mean? What do you mean by sharing or transferring the energy?
So like animals usually require like sperm and egg to like make something new, and it's like unique, right? Plants just replicate themselves. So like plants are just growing, and then if they get chopped up or knocked down or whatever, they're able to replicate.
So is there a literal component to transplanting that, or you're just energetically?
I think just like energetically, and realizing that like, oh, if this plant is representing my relationship with my grandma, that's great. But like, I don't have to have that physical thing to still have that connection to her. It's kind of like a totem, or like a physical manifestation of that connection. But if the earthly part of it, being a plant, dies, like that doesn't mean my connection with my grandma's lost. I can still take what I learned from that plant and like pick a new one as the one to represent my connection with my grandma.
Yeah, I understand that. But I've also seen like Instagram reels of different plants being transplanted onto other plants and still thriving.
Totally. Like most of the plants that we actually grow indoors, so like pothos, monstera, philodendron, hoyas, which we use in the kokedama workshop, they are what we call epiphytic plants, meaning that in nature they don't grow in the ground on dirt. They grow by attaching to tree bark and climbing up trees to get higher into the canopy to get more light. So the success of them actually necessitates a support system and something else for them to get nutrients and support from anyway.
Okay, I see. Can you, without going too far back, but maybe from the start of the journey for you, or your personal journey into plants, when did that start?
I think earlier than I realized.
Okay.
Growing up, my mom and my grandma always had pothos around the house that they were like growing in water and propagating and giving away as like housewarming gifts to people. So then I remember in biology in high school, like doing the section on like plants and learning all about like cell walls and like all of that and how they grow and photosynthesis, and remembering like how cool it was. But what I didn't realize at the time was what I was learning, I actually had the ability to witness at home too with the plants that were happening. So when I got my first apartment after college, the first thing I did was buy like 20 houseplants to like fill it up, because like that's what like I had already known. And I think I had like a lot of baseline understanding already about how to keep them happy, how to keep them healthy, and like how to raise them, I guess, in a way that's like
Did you
rewarding.
play an active role in keeping them alive with mom?
No.
Yeah. So like when did you start taking an active role in that process? You know, like it's one thing to just like buy houseplants to decorate an apartment. But when did you become an active and have active engagement in that process?
Yeah, I think it was probably coming out of the pandemic.
Okay.
I had been an stage actor here in Chicago for like a decade.
Okay.
And I found that the industry was not giving me what I wanted it to give me. And so I had to pivot. So I was trying to figure out how to pivot. Tried to go back to get a job at Apple where I'd worked previously.
Wow.
And the offer they gave me was less than I was making when I left the company.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. And I told them that. And I literally said in my interview, I like sat across from my former manager and I was like, I would rather go work minimum wage for a mom and pop plant shop than work for the richest company in the world making a quarter of what I'm worth.
Oh, wow.
And then a week later, my favorite plant store here in Chicago said they were hiring.
Okay.
So that's when I started to do like the YouTube deep dives to actually like find out about like, okay, I have this feeling of how plants work, but like what's the actual science behind it?
Yeah.
I love to figure things out. Like as a kid, I was always taking things apart to figure out how they fit together and put them back together.
Reverse engineer, yeah.
Totally. And I kind of run my workshops the same way of like, I can tell you what to do, but if I teach you why it works, then you have a better chance of remembering it, right? And understanding it.
Yeah.
So when I was working at that plant shop, that was the first time I found this world of uncommon and rare plants, which like what makes a plant uncommon and rare is like one thing. But there are a lot of plants that like look really cool and they look like nothing I'd ever seen in like Home Depot or Trader Joe's. And that's where I really started to cultivate this like relationship of taking care of something and it showing you that love back or that beauty back to you.
Yeah. When something's uncommon, is there an inherent difficulty with maintaining them?
For the most part, yeah, probably.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of the uncommon and rare plants are variegated, which means there is a variation in the amount of chlorophyll that are in the leaves.
Oh.
So like a really popular plant is a monstera, and there's a version of it called Monstera albo, where there are whole sections of the leaves that are entirely white.
Oh.
So what that means is in nature, that's like a disadvantageous adaptation, right? Because the white portions don't have any chloroplasts. They can't create energy from the plant. All they're doing is sucking up energy. So in nature, those plants would naturally kill off those leaves to try to grow all green again.
Sure.
But then when we're selecting what we want to grow inside, those plants, they need more light than they typically do because they don't have the same surface area to photosynthesize from.
Any thoughts on that? It's just like, is that, are we like, at what role are we playing in evolution? You know, it's just like, is that selfish of us to do that, or does it not even matter? It's,
I think there's like two parts to it.
Yeah.
I think like capitalism can make us weaponize that and then like charge insane amounts.
Oh yeah.
For plants, right? But then also like we're charging how much for watches and how much for like tennis shoes. Like capitalism, that's the society we're in, and we have to play by that game a little bit.
Okay.
But one of the things that I'm really excited to do is kind of introduce a world of uncommon plants to people at an accessible price and like in a way that makes caring for plants really rewarding. I would rather someone have one plant that they really understand and that they love and can take care of than have like 20 plants that like they're kind of guessing at.
Yeah. And I think, do you feel like you're achieving that right now?
Yeah.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah, it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you want to give a shout out to the favorite plant shop that you worked at, or?
Yeah, so it's called The Plantier. They used to be over in Westtown.
Okay.
And then she moved back to Taiwan for a little bit.
Whoa.
And now she's back in Chicago, and she opened up a new space. So she has the plant shop in the back. She has a ceramic studio behind it, and then she has like an event space and tea shop in front of it. So
that sounds like a dream project.
Yeah.
Is it? And it's all hers?
It's all hers. Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's called Dodule. is the name of the space.
Please send it to me. I haven't.
I will for sure. But like, it's really cool there.
Wow. And so would you say you're a student of YouTube University and the plant shop?
More so YouTube University, because like working at the plant shop, I would spend my off time like watching YouTube videos just to like learn more and like figure it out, right?
Yeah.
But that's when I really learned that like I really have a knack and an understanding for how plants work. And then also I learned that like just because no shade to Anne because she actually knows what she's doing, but just because you own a plant shop doesn't mean you know how to take care of plants, right? Like you would think, oh, I can go to the plant shop to get like the best advice, but like I've heard some whack advice from some plant shop owners.
Okay.
And it's like, but everyone has their own way of doing plants. I think like the journey of having a house plant is like finding the one that works for you.
Okay.
Whether that means like you're the helicopter parent who's doing something every day, or if you're the person who's like, I want to water it 3 times a year and otherwise just have it sit there and look pretty. Like there's a plant for everyone.
Yeah. Are there any formative YouTube videos or channels that come to mind?
Not plant specific related. Like I would watch like a lot of like science channels that were then doing a deep dive on plants.
Oh, wow.
Right? Because I found that they're more interested in explaining how the things work. So the way that like I think about houseplants is they're not meant to grow indoors, right? They were evolved to grow outside. And so if we understand the conditions that plant ideally grows in, we can replicate them in like the best ways possible at home. So like a lot of people are concerned about humidity with their houseplants, but most of the houseplants you buy are actually fine with just ambient humidity. Because if they needed special care, they wouldn't be selling a lot of them because they'd keep dying.
Yeah. So ideally, what, a greenhouse if you had the space?
Oh, if I had the space?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I want like a greenhouse on the roof, on the back or the side of the house that my cats can like have a jungle through and like places to sit and a little office in there for me.
Cool.
That's the dream.
And what did you learn about the consumer side? Like what did you learn about what they cared about? What were they curious about? What do they care about?
I think a lot of people are just looking for direction.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people just want to be told the answer.
Oh.
And that's true in like life too. Like people are always wanting just like, tell me the thing I have to do.
Okay.
And my response to that is like, I can't, like only you can figure it out.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
So like when people are asking me for like plant advice or like they come to the kokedama workshop, they're like, so I need to water this like once a month. And I'm like, I don't know. You have to see what your environment is like and learn how to like listen to your plant.
Yeah.
And that's not too hard to do, but it does require more presence and more connection with this thing rather than just checking off a box of like, okay, I crossed this day off on the calendar, I watered it.
And is that usually met with acceptance or kind of some begrudgingness?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who then go, okay, but like for real, how often should I? And like the answer is, if it's in like a dark room, it's not going to need water nearly as much as a plant in a light room, because the way plants, the way they make their energy is they take the energy from the sun. Yeah. And then they take the water that they've absorbed and they break those molecules apart and they rearrange them with carbon dioxide and reform glucose, which is like the same glucose that's like in our bloodstream. So the more light a plant is getting, the more water it needs. So how often to water your plant really is determined by how big it is, how many leaves it has, how much it's photosynthesizing, how much light it's getting. So I don't have an answer from anyone. I can come to your house with my light meter and be like, okay, this one's getting 800 foot candles for probably about 8 hours a day. So this is what I'd recommend. Yeah. But it really comes down to like, you have to like learn to pick up your plants and see how heavy they are, see how much water they have, pay attention to them.
That makes so much sense. The episode that was released this week is she's a fitness trainer, and Yeah, I mean, you could be doing, a Peloton, Barry's boot camp, or hot yoga, and you're gonna need more fuel to get you off, for maintaining.
Totally.
So that when you break it down like that, it makes so much sense. And so I wonder if you end your kind of explanation with that, and then, like, what is the statement that you can share that provides an aha moment to them?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could be it.
Yeah. I've actually never made that connection between how much we ask of our bodies and like what we need to put into our bodies for them to like perform at the best level.
Yeah.
And like sunlight with plants. That's actually a really great frame. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, Carmela. And so you had a previous life to this.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to go there. And your mom worked in a hospital. Was there a clinical aspect to it as well?
No. So she actually started working in cardiac rehab with people who had had heart attacks and like teaching them how to exercise, take care of themselves.
So then what was her background?
Her background was in personal training.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So from there, she took over the training center at a hospital. She started teaching BLS kind of as like a side part to her job.
Yeah.
And then the woman that she had worked with in cardiac rehab, who ran the training center, left on maternity leave.
Okay.
And I don't know if my mom ever realized how great of an educator she was, but she really was. So she took over for that job while she was on maternity leave. And then the woman came back and she's like, I'm not coming back. So they rewrote the job description so that my mom could run the program.
Yeah.
And then my mom went back to school to get her nursing license so that she could then run the program.
Interesting.
And then she got into the world of simulation. Medical simulation training.
Yeah.
So out in Naperville, there's a hospital, Edward Hospital.
Yeah.
And she wrote the grant that got them. She wrote the grant that got them the single largest grant that the hospital had ever gotten, and it was to build their simulation lab out there.
It ain't cheap.
No, it's not millions of dollars for those listening.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh my, so much to unpack.
Yeah.
So back in the day, in her day, I feel like you could easily make these lateral movements because the role that you're describing is like an occupational therapist, rehab from a heart attack.
Yeah.
So very cool for her to be able to, but also be wanting to take on that role.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned that she might not know how good of an educator she is. Like, what aspects come to mind that do that for you, that allow her to be an example, a good educator for you?
So because she was running the training center, she had all of these BLS instructors that were working underneath her. Okay. And so when I decided to go to school for theater, she was like, you have to have some way to make money. So why don't you become a BLS instructor at 18 just so that, you can come home and we can go teach BLS at our dentist office, right? And like, I'll be your assistant teacher. No, right. And for a college student, it was like, to fly home for the weekend to make $2,000 to teach this workshop or this BLS course with my mom was like, great, So watching her teach really taught me a lot about how to teach. And she taught the same way, it's like when you're teaching someone how to do CPR, one of the most important things is allowing the chest to fully recoil, right? And people will answer that on a test, but like, do they actually understand why? And if you explain that the heart is like a bulb syringe, and when it fills up and you squeeze all the blood out of it, you have to let it fully refill. Suddenly these nurses who have been nurses for 30, 40 years are like, I never thought about it that way. And it's like, if we can explain the reason why, if you understand it, then you can implement it as well. So that's something for sure I learned from
So the
my
ability
mom.
to break down kind of esoteric concepts into terms we all can understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like you said earlier, like not spoon feeding an answer and helping the student get to the realization themselves.
Yeah.
It's a little more stickier in that sense.
Yeah. But like, I think in anything in life, like you can't do anything from anyone, right?
You can't be told what to do either.
Right.
Yeah.
Like someone can ask me for advice and I can provide all the answers. But even if I'm the expert on whatever it is and they know it, like they have to choose to accept that and make that choice. I think about that when it comes to like therapy a lot of times, right? And like a good therapist isn't going to tell you what to do. They're going to like give you space to figure out what you want to do.
Do they even provide options?
My therapist doesn't. I mean, she does when I'm really stuck and I'm like, hey, I just need to like, my mind is in a place where I can't even see any options. So like, can you help me shape some of them? But like most of the work comes from me, right? And she reflects back things that she's hearing, right? Or maybe says like, okay, you said this. And to me, it makes me think you're actually thinking about this. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. Like I am. But like, if she also doesn't know my life like I know it. So I think in anything in life, we look for quick answers. We look for the thing we can like slap on the problem. Yep. And that's rarely the way that things actually get fixed or moved or changed.
Yeah, that's so mature. And I think having one-on-one conversations, I think when you do have one-on-one conversations, it's easier to come to that conclusion of how many nuances there are. Yeah. And the easy route is always to jump to conclusions, overgeneralize, and just throw on kind of a preconceived notion about a topic or someone. And we can all benefit from more one-on-one conversations, or the understanding that things can be more nuanced and to hold judgment.
For sure, like being curious about things instead of being judgmental has been like a huge shift for me. And I think like that goes back to the plants too. It's like if a plant's not doing well, instead of being like, like I'm a piece of shit because like I can't keep this plant alive, like instead being like, oh, what happened? Like I'm curious about why that didn't work the way I thought it did, right? And being curious about things allows you to navigate life and like move with what life is giving you, as opposed to like being like, nope, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm doing it.
Yeah. I wonder if playing the victim would ever benefit you. Or I don't know if this is considered the high road, but like, or always seeing the way of accountability, no matter how much of a victim you might have been in that situation, like taking the road of like, is there anything else I could have done for this? Might better suit you physically, mentally, spiritually, in the long run, and like to regain agency of like, was anything else in my control that I could have done in this situation?
I think like even the phrase like victim mentality, like a lot of people understand that, but a lot of people don't identify with it. But I think like the reframe for me has been like, what do you not feel expressed in? Like, what do you not feel heard in? Right? I think about how divisive our country, community, city, how everything is so divisive right now. And it's like people are standing on opposite sides of this cliff, like yelling because they're scared, because they don't feel seen, they don't feel heard, right? And if I don't feel safe in my person and what's going on daily with me, like I don't have the ability to look beyond myself, right? And so when I run into people where it seems like, oh, you're kind of, you're really loving this victim role, right? It's not that they're loving it. It's more so that like they feel unseen.
Yes. And at what point do you choose to find pathways to become seen? And I doubt anyone enjoys identifying with the victim mentality, but at what point do you choose to move on, like move forward? How do we move forward from that?
That comes back to like, it has to be your choice, right? Like someone who feels unseen, feels unheard, feels like the victim, you can provide all the options for them, right? But they have to be ready to take it. And it's this idea that no one is going to save you, but perhaps like there is no one savior anyway. There is no one option. Like there's this old story. It's like a parable about this man's city floods, and he like climbs up on the bridge and he prays to God for someone to come and help him, save him. Or he prays to God. He says, God, like, please save me. And this woman paddles by on a boat, and she's like, oh my gosh, are you stuck? Like, get in my boat. We'll find somewhere to go. And he goes, no, God's going to save me. Ooh. And then, like someone else comes by, and then like someone comes by in a helicopter, and they like drop him a ladder, and he's like, no, God's going to save me. And then like he dies and goes to heaven, and he's like, God, where were you? And he's like, I sent you a boat. I sent you this. I sent you a helicopter. Right. And so it's like, sometimes we get so stuck in what we think the mechanism's going to be that like we don't actually see the way that we can get through it.
You're blocked from seeing the opportunities. Yeah.
And had God parted the clouds and been like, I hear you, I'm going to send you a boat here, maybe the guy would have gotten on the first boat, right? But it all comes down to like what we're looking for, and we find what we're looking for. We can find anything, right? If I go through my day, I can think about all the ways people are taking advantage of me every single day.
Yeah.
Or
and, I think about like when we say what we're looking for, that gets very specific, and it's just like, I wonder if this reframe is better in the sense of, is it better to be in the perception of, or in the mindset of being open, or like to receive? And in that case, it kind of leaves what you're looking for open-ended, instead of being hyper specific about what you're looking for.
Yeah, being curious.
Yeah.
Right? Like wondering like, oh, is this the thing? Or is this something else? Well, what is this thing? I don't know.
Yeah. And in a way, that should be a little bit more, that should bring relief to a lot of people, because it is very hard to know what to look for. But if you put yourself in the mindset of open.
Yeah. And one of my favorite things to do is when I'm with a group of people and we're like deciding where to eat, like, people are horrible at making choices, right? Everyone's like, well, I don't know, we could do this, we do this. So like my life hack for that is I pick a place, even if it's a place I don't want to go. I'm like, oh, let's go here. Because what either happens is everyone either gets on that boat or someone says, actually, can we go here? So that's the boat we get on, right?
The whole time.
Right. But if someone doesn't take that initial action, like, you never figure it out. The other analogy I have is like, let's say I invite you to go to the Grand Canyon with me, right? I could come pick you up at 4 a.m. and I'm like, great, we're driving straight through. We're stopping only 5 minutes at a time for gas in the bathroom. We're going to get there as fast as we can. Okay, like, we would get there, right? But probably tired and a little grumpy. But like, if I say, let's go to the Grand Canyon, and 2 miles outside of the city, we find the most beautiful view and decide like, actually, let's stay here for a while. And then maybe we decide to continue on to the Grand Canyon. But like, that's the way I want to live life, is like finding the things along the way. Because I think very rarely in life do we get to the end goal.
Yeah. I think and despite that, I mean, I still think it's important to have some idea of a destination or a
direction.
Goal. Yeah, direction. But to be open to, I mean, truly, like you'll discover that the beauty was in the journey.
Yeah. There's a sign in the bathroom here that says life can only be understood looking backwards, but can only be lived moving forwards. Right?
Lawrence Dunning. Thank you for that. And so then tell me, how long were you committed to the process of becoming and living an actor, like being an actor?
I really discovered theater that I was like really good at it in high school.
Okay.
And had toyed with the idea of being an artist, but I come from a huge sports family.
Okay.
So like love my parents, but like they didn't really know what to do with that. Like he likes art. What are we gonna do with it? But I ended up getting a scholarship to the college I went to, not for theater.
Oh, okay.
But I was like, oh, if I'm going to go to this school and they're going to pay for my tuition, I'm going to get a theater degree. So, but I wasn't going to just get one. I was going to get 3. So I have a degree in acting, a degree in directing, and a degree in theater design.
Oh, wow.
With a minor in dance.
Wow.
And I was like, I am going to work, whether it's sewing costumes in the costume shop or designing lights or dancing, directing, like I'm going to work as an artist. And I was committed to that for like 13 years.
That's a long time.
It's a very long time.
Did you finish school in 4 years or longer?
4 years.
You did 3 degrees in 4 years.
Yeah. So I did 3 degrees in 4 years because my scholarship only applied to a certain number of credit hours.
Okay.
So anything that wasn't directly within my department, I took at summer school at a community college and transferred the credits in.
Oh, wow.
So I could like make the most out of my time in college.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You were busy. That was a busy 4 years.
I worked at Starbucks. I woke up at 3 a.m. to go work at Starbucks from 3:30 to 9, and then I would go to class from 10 to 5, and then we'd have a rehearsal for whatever show we were doing from 6 to 10, and then I'd start my homework, and then I'd do it all over again. And then second semester, my senior year of college, I got mono, not in a fun way, but just like from running myself into the ground.
Oh, sure.
And really realized like this is not sustainable.
Okay.
But yeah, I was really committed to working really hard to be an artist for a really long time.
Did you like, do you still have friends from college? Like these days? I can't imagine how much time, unless the theater community is so tight knit.
Yeah.
How much free time do you have to spend?
Not a lot. I mean,
people?
all my friends in college were people who were in my direct department, like people I was in shows with, people I was in class with, things like that. The other like interesting thing about theater is like in theater, for the majority of people, like you are so lucky if you get a 3-month contract and you know what your next 3 months of work looks like. Mm-hmm. But even then, you still have to be auditioning for the following 3 months. So like we're constantly used to joining a production, getting to know everyone for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and then being like moving on to my next thing. Yeah. So there's like the theater community does very much have a sense of holding on tightly while you've got them and then letting them go. Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, my schedule didn't line up with any of the following shows for Jenna Fisher's like current show, Ashland Avenue. Mm-hmm. I hear such good things, but to see all her like office castmates come by and show support, you get that family sense. And I know that was a TV show, but I would still get that sense from like a theater production as well. And then having to move on. You have these various mini families here and there. But while like that being said, did you get the sense that it was communal or more kind of individualistic and cutthroat at times?
That's a good question. I think it wants to be communal, right? Like everyone wants to hire all of your friends. Everyone wants, if you're like a good person, like people want to work with you.
Or maybe it depends on what stage in life or in that career that you're in. When you like coming back to fear of like, are you at a stage of like abundance and like, and then when you come from that state, you might realize, actually this role might have not been the best for me, but for you, it might have been the perfect fit.
Yeah. I think like the entertainment industry kind of necessitates an amount of being cutthroat. And it's not cutthroat as much as it is like survival. Like that's why it's cutthroat. Like you have to, that's one of the reasons I didn't want to move to New York to be an actor, was because like I didn't want to have to choose between going to an audition or working my 4th part-time job to make rent, like I moved to Chicago because I could live here, I could work here as an actor, I could see great theater, and I could like go and audition and I could take classes and like kind of have a more well-rounded life than someone who lives in New York. The truth is, if you're an actor living in New York, most of the jobs you're getting aren't in New York.
Oh, interesting.
They're at all the theaters across the country. they will pick a weekend and fly to New York to audition for their whole season.
Wow.
So like even if you're living in New York working as an actor, you're still subletting your apartment and going to live in another part of the country for 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
And then there's like 100 people who are lucky enough to be working on Broadway.
Okay. Wow.
That's what I thought I wanted for a really long time.
Out of the 3 degrees, like which one was there one or two maybe that was more formative than the others?
Acting was really transformative for me.
Okay.
It allowed me to be someone who like I didn't have the opportunity to be in my real life. Like one of my first acting teacher, Robin Berg, she was like, it's your responsibility on stage to be offended, to be pissed off, to hurt someone's feelings, right? Like that's the theater we want to see. And I'd spent so much of my life taking care of other people and like not wanting to offend you, that like getting that, I was like, oh yeah, like the best moments on stage and on screen are when like someone is like reactive or like volatile, and like giving me the space to do that, like I had never experienced that before. When I started therapy in 2018, so in 2018 I did the School at Steppenwolf actor training program.
Cool.
So it's 12 weeks, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and it was awesome.
Okay.
But I also learned that like I didn't know much about myself.
Interesting.
And like one of the things that I brought into therapy right when I started, I initially sought out therapy that time because that actor training program, like I was like, I don't know who I am. I know how to play all these other people, but like who am I? And one of the first things that like I remember talking about was like, oh, I'm not an angry person. Like I don't get angry. And like the truth was I was a very deeply angry person.
Interesting.
I just never let myself show it because there was a history of like anger means violence or anger means hurting someone. Like anger is not productive. Like angry people, you aren't angry at the people you love.
Yeah.
And really learning like anger is a super important emotion to be able to recognize and also to express in a healthy way. The analogy my therapist gave me was in the movie Inside Out, when sadness and anger are locked out of control tower, they get back, but they can't get in because there's this glass wall. And the only way to make room for sadness and anger, or sadness and joy, was to make anger mad enough that his hair caught fire and melted the glass. So anger literally made room for joy and sadness to come in.
I see.
So that understanding of like, oh, these emotions are these like things in my life that I've put off limits for myself, like anger, right? Like they're actually really, really important to allow it to pass and to not hold grudges and to like move on to the next thing, which might be sadness or it might be joy. Was anger simply bottled up, or did it manifest outwardly in different ways? Oh, it manifested in a lot of different ways. Okay. A lot of ways that like I didn't even realize. Okay. So I guess it's like 18 months ago, a year and a half ago now, I checked myself into a treatment program for eating disorders. Oh, wow. Coming out of the pandemic, it was really hard for me to eat, and I didn't understand why. It wasn't really tied up with my body image, I didn't think, but I couldn't eat. You put food in front of me and I would just break down crying, and I didn't understand why. Going through 12 weeks of treatment like really showed me a lot of unexpressed anger I had in my life. And like I didn't realize the way I was holding it in my body. I didn't realize what it was doing to my mind. And there were things I'd forgotten about that I was so angry about them, I had blocked them out of my memory. So having that time to really deep dive into things and like take care of myself like made me realize, whoa, there is this thing I've tried to forget I've actually been carrying in an unconscious way with me for 20 years.
How impactful is simply gaining awareness of the anger? Because I'm sure there are some aspects to the anger that won't be potentially resolved only due to maybe it's out of your control. But after you were made aware or realized what was causing these potential other issues, how helpful was that?
Transformative.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the reality was I hadn't been dealing with them for years. Okay. So just to be able to recognize them was so hard. But to be able to realize I don't have to do anything with it yet. All I have to do is recognize that it's there. Mm-hmm. What came next was a lot of sadness and a lot of grief, both for what had happened, but also for the way it had caused me to go through life, right? Like the life I didn't have because of this event or because of these events. Going back to like everyone wants a solve for the problem, right? With those things that I was so angry about, I didn't have to decide what I wanted to do about them. What I needed to do was to sit with them and face them and accept them as truth and part of what had happened. A lot of those things I'm still working through. I don't know the answer to them, right? But if I stay curious about what is happening, what is, how am I feeling about that thing today? What's the story I'm telling myself about this thing? That's when like you find flexibility and you find an opportunity to maybe change one thing or maybe try to think about it a different way, right? And not ignoring it, not pushing it away or pushing it down, but instead being like, this is the truth of something that happened. I get to decide what I do with that. And no one's going to make it better, right? It's like, I think a lot of people could use an apology from their parents for a lot of things, right? But the fact of the matter is, even if your parents apologize for it, it doesn't change what happened, right? If you have a grudge with someone, like even if they come back to you and they're like, you are 100% right, I was 100% wrong, I'm so sorry, that doesn't...
Yeah, there's still kind of like that broken trust feeling.
And you still have to decide something to do with it.
Yeah. Radical acceptance.
Have you read the book?
No, I haven't.
Tara Brach wrote a book called Radical Acceptance.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Very Buddhist. The audiobook's really good. She reads it.
Yeah.
But yeah, being like, I can either stay mad that it happened and wish it hadn't happened, or I can choose to acknowledge that it happened, accept what I can't control, and then decide what I can control, which is not how I feel. I can't control how I feel about something. I can control what I do with that feeling, right? So if I'm angry at someone, I can't change that. I can tell them that I'm angry, and that helps dissolve the anger maybe. Or I can decide to hold that grudge and not talk to them about it and let the anger sit there. But being able to accept that the anger's there is the first part of actually making a conscious decision on what's next.
I can't imagine that first therapy meeting.
Yeah.
Of just sitting with it, right? And just like, what?
Yeah.
I've been angry?
Right. Or like now it's crazy. Our sessions look so different now. My therapist, not infrequently, will like remind me of how far we've come.
Is that common to a same therapist for 7 years?
Yeah.
Is that common? For anyone that you know that goes to therapy, is like, because sometimes you outgrow your therapist.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think that's a scary thing that does happen. My relationship with my therapist has changed several times over us working together. I mean, for one, virtue of the fact of like the pandemic, we had to go from meeting in person to meeting only virtually. Like that changed my relationship with her.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who like couldn't do that with their therapist. Like it wasn't there. Yeah. And like, so they had to like find a new one. I think like Therapy, love it. But like, I think I'm really fortunate that my therapist is really aware of our relationship and how it has changed and how it does change. And just like any relationship in life, like relationships are always changing.
Yeah.
And there have been times where like I've worked with my therapist. I see her like every week, but like there have been like seasons where like we don't really talk about deep stuff. We talk about what's going on with my business or the art that I'm watching or listening to or like whatever, right? And there are times where like we get deep into the trauma and like 5-6 weeks in a row it's like the deep stuff. My therapist kind of, not to speak for her, but her whole mentality around therapy is like she's providing like a space to allow me to be whatever I am, whatever I need to be. Sometimes, like at the beginning of my work with her, it was to be really angry and to learn that anger can be a safe place, actually. To be angry and to not know what to do with it, I can experience that and be safe and be okay.
Yeah.
Which is the first step of then being like, okay, now what are we going to do? There'll be times I talk to my therapist about this thing and then we don't talk about that thing for 4 weeks because I haven't done the thing I need to do about that thing. But like, she's also a great therapist and that like she calls me out on that sometimes. I remember during the pandemic, we were talking a lot about my perfectionism and how it doesn't serve me and like the need to like show up as like A+ Austin is like the character we named it. So, and then she said to me, she's like, do you ever feel that here? Do you ever feel like in therapy you have to show up as A+ Austin? And I was like, yeah, I do. And like that was a huge moment in our relationship, our working relationship, for me to admit that and for her to also not feel guilty about it and feel like she wasn't doing her job. Like, in fact, she was doing her job by saying, do you feel that here? Because you shouldn't, right? You should feel free to show up here as messy or as complicated as you want to be. And like, there's no judgment from the therapist.
Sure. Yeah. That's interesting. And so in what environments do you feel compelled to bring out A+ Austin?
Ooh.
You know, where you want to be excellent.
I mean, like, I got a fresh haircut to show up here today. I walked in, that's the first thing you said to me. But also, like, something I've learned is, like, you know what? Getting a haircut makes me feel good. Yeah. And when I feel good, I show up differently.
Okay.
I think what I've learned about A+ Austin is that he is the reason I survived for so long. He got me through a lot of things. He will always be there. Yeah. That is always something I can bring out if I need it. But I rarely need it. I rarely need to show up perfect 100% because the pursuit of A+ Austin keeps me out of being in the moment. It keeps me out of connection. It keeps me out of saying the thing that, like, ooh, I kind of want to say this. Oh, that's not the pretty thing to say. That's not the right thing to say, right? We are so much better served when we are present and connected.
And I know, I'm sure it gets easier over time with awareness, but as a business owner, I'm sure that's hard because you know, there's this public perception that you have to uphold.
Yeah. I try really hard in my workshops that I teach, right? I have a script. I have a script that I use every time, but I think also one thing I learned in theater school through acting and through directing is that I have an ability to be witnessed in something that maybe someone else doesn't feel brave enough to feel. So that idea of being an actor, of being like, oh, I'm allowed all of these emotions as an actor on stage as a character, might help someone else see that and be like, wow, I actually feel that way too. I didn't realize it. So I've been thinking a lot about my workshops, my public workshops I teach, and how there is a script, right? There's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there's a lesson in it all. But like, also every workshop is different based on who's there and like what the energy feels like. And if I forget a huge part of my quote script for the night, that's exactly what I needed, actually. And that's exactly what the people there needed, because I talked about this other thing that I usually don't talk about in my workshops, but for some reason it's coming up today, and I know that there's a reason for it. So I could pursue the A+ Austin and here's my perfect script and here's how the evening's gonna go, but the evening never goes perfect, and people are never exactly receptive the way I think they're gonna be. So if I stay present, curious about what's happening, it actually sets up for a much better evening and a much less pressure on myself, trusting myself in the moment.
Okay. So going back to Steppenwolf, like when did you start gaining traction or realizing, and I wonder if like an identity is like built or just realized, you know, like when, after you're navigating the anger, at what point do you feel ready to like come back to who Austin is without the masks?
Yeah, I don't know. Right? Like I think like we all have these stories we tell ourselves. Like we all, every day we are getting words from people, things we're seeing, things we're hearing, like all this stuff is coming in, and then we have this inner self that we fabricate some sort of story to like understand the world, right? And I think a lot of people think they know themselves, and I think that like everyone knows. I think a lot of people think they know themselves. And I think what it is it's an acceptance of the stories they tell themselves. They're like, I'm this kind of person. When this thing happens, this is what it means. And there's like a much bigger world to be discovered when you're like, well, I don't know who I am. Like, I don't, you know, my car got booted, and that could make me really mad and angry and frustrated at myself. Or I can be like, I could be angry about it, or I could suck it up and find the $250 to pay the booting fee, and have that be that. Like, have it not mean something bigger. Have it not mean a curse from the universe or whatever, right? I think I am constantly discovering who I am. And
but at your core, you know, your essence, is that, I wonder if that's something that one is kind of born with and then molded and shaped through their environment over time, and that's evolving, but there's an essence.
I think a lot of it is confidence, and confidence in like trusting yourself that, like, at least for me, that like I'll figure it out, right? Like when XYZ happens to me, I can figure out the A+ Austin response, or I can like figure out what feels right in the moment.
So what I'm hearing is like identity kind of is contextual.
Yeah, I think identity is important to help us like understand things. Like I think about this a lot with like sexuality and like being like, are you gay or are you straight, or like, are you bi? And it's like, these are actually all just boxes that generalizations that we use to kind of help give context and like understand the world, but like the individual experience is actually much deeper and much more complex than that.
And if I were to take it one step further, even universal.
Yeah.
Of just this, you know, desire to be loved and seen and felt and held and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
And like if I cement my identity as a gay person, I'm gay, then like if I'm experiencing love with someone who's femme, suddenly that's a crisis of like, well, what does that mean that like I'm attracted to this person? Like I thought I was gay, right? Like I can get caught up in the labels of it.
I've never had that. Oh, that's so interesting.
What?
That thought. I was just like, I guess it's so more nuanced than just straight up being gay.
Right.
Yeah. I guess I never had that realization.
Yeah. Well, like my therapist says like, Like if quote straight guys could just like make out with each other once, like the world would be a much better place. Because I think there's like a lot of like internalized homophobia and like this idea of like, oh great, if I say or think that if as a man, if I say or think that this man is attractive, suddenly there's this label attached to me, and that's not safe for me. As opposed to being like, what do you think the gym is? Like, it's just all of these gym bros like looking at each other's muscles, like, but like we've labeled it something hyper masculine and not gay, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So if you get caught up in like the label you're identifying with, it causes you to question your core sometimes, as opposed to just not being attached to the labels, but understanding them as like a very ephemeral way we have to go through the world, but like it's much deeper, much more nuanced.
Yeah. That's so interesting. It makes so much sense, and at the same time I'm still at a loss of words of like what an essence could be. You know, where do one's convictions stem from?
And that's where I think like there's even getting into things like religion is just a way to understand that. Right? Like if you think about morality, and like a lot of people's morality is based in religion, and like my religion like tells me this, and it's like in a lot of ways that works sometimes, right? Like you understand it's bad to hurt someone because that goes against the teachings of your religion, right? But then when that religion boxes in so much that then it causes hurt to other people, or it makes you unable to think about the world in a different way, that's when it's like not useful anymore. So I think a lot of people have this story they tell themselves, and they understand the world through that story. And I think if you stay curious about why am I telling myself that story, and does it feel right, like learning to trust the feeling, and not performing the outward appearances.
Yeah, so having faith in the feeling rather than the process or the scripture, or it's rarely black and white. It's rarely black or white. It's often black and white and gray and yin and yang. Yeah, well said.
I just talked about this last week in therapy.
Okay, well said. That's cool. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, like two things can
be true.
Yeah, multiple things can be true.
Yeah.
I was talking to my grandma a couple weeks ago. She's 96. She knows like her time on this earth is coming to an end soon. And she was like, I'm really sad about that, but like I'm also relieved a little bit. She's like, I don't get it. And I was like, Mima, it can be both. Like, I'm going to be so sad when you're not here anymore. And I can also at the same time be so happy you are still here, right? I can be sad when you're gone, and I can also be so happy that like, I remember the songs you taught us when I was like 6 years old and we were on car trips together. Like it all exists at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's a human need to label things and to make them black or white. And the truth is they're always more complex than that.
Yeah, it's like, why is it so hard to understand that multiple things can be true? Like, why does your version have to be the only truth?
Yeah.
What is Mima trying to do to get her? Like, is she trying to? Does she have a list of things she wants to do? Is there like, how do you get your affairs in order?
She's done them all. She's 96. Her whole family is gone. All of her friends are gone. Wow. She's the last one. She has like 20 something grandkids, 12 great grandkids. Like, she wakes up, she still lives by herself. She still wakes up every day, watches her program, drinks her coffee. She's like, I'm kind of just waiting at this point.
Wow.
But I think she has a lot of peace about the life that she lived.
Yeah. Was there ever a point where you're like, like, Mima, let's go to the museum. Let's go take a walk in the park, because there's still so much juice to squeeze.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure you're at the point of acceptance of like, Mima wants to just watch her programs and drink her coffee.
She's done that. Like, she's been to the museum.
I guess so.
She's
Yeah.
done,
At what point is it now selfish for yourself because you want to spend more time with this person?
Yeah. And it's like, what can I do for her?
Yeah.
Nothing. So what I do is when I think of her, I FaceTime her. She picks up great. If she doesn't, like, she can't hear it, or she's with someone else or whatever, but like just letting her know, like, I love her and I'm thinking about her in this moment.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be more than that. It's not more than that, but it is so much more than that.
Is there a part of you, or if there's already a way to memorialize her in addition to memories?
I talk about her in all my plant workshops, right? Like, I think in teaching what I do, I can honor her. And it doesn't have to be every single person seeing a picture of it that comes to the workshop seeing a picture of Mima, right? Like, I am who I am because of her, period, right? Like, if she didn't exist, my mom wouldn't exist, I wouldn't exist, right?
Yeah.
Like, all of my story has been informed by the decisions she made, right? So, like, just showing up and being authentic, who I am, is the hardest thing. Like, my family lives in Alabama now. My grandma lives in Alabama. Christmas before last, I brought my boyfriend home for the first time.
Oh,
I was terrified. Terrified. Because my grandma knew I was gay, but we never talked about it, you know? Whenever we talked, she would be like, "Are you staying out of trouble?" Which, like, was her way of being like, "Are you being sexually promiscuous with men?" Right? And I'd tell her, like, "Yeah, I am staying out of trouble. Am I doing the thing you think I'm doing? You don't know because you didn't actually ask. Yeah. But I'm staying out of trouble." Yeah. So I was terrified to bring my boyfriend home, and we walked into the house, and I could see, like, catty corner through the house. She was, like, sitting in her rocking chair. And I, like, had this moment of realizing, like, I was so scared of this, and you're just a 94-year-old lady. That's all you are. Like, you can think whatever you want about me, but it's not going to change who I am or how I show up. And so if I'm trying to actually protect myself by keeping that part of myself from you, I'm keeping so much of who I am from you.
Yeah.
My relationship with my grandma has changed so much since coming out. Not because we talk about it, but because, like, it gives me the freedom to show up and actually be me.
Yeah, because you're unapologetically you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, the only thing my grandma can want for me is to be happy and safe and healthy.
One can hope.
Yeah.
Right?
But, like, even the worst of grandmas, right? Like, what they want is what they think is right.
Yes.
And ultimately, because what they think is right is going to be the answer that makes you happy, healthy, safe.
Yeah.
So just because the way I do it looks different than she would have chosen for me.
Yeah.
Right?
But I wonder if, like, as you've shown up and she gets to see how happy you are, you know, I hope that, you know, you realize that, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
Austin's great.
Yeah. And, like, at the end of the day, I can't control what she thinks about it. What I can control is how I show up and being authentic to myself and showing her that I'm happy or I'm figuring it out, right? Like, she doesn't need to be worried about me.
Yeah. And so, you know, I'm sure part of wanting to hide yourself stems from not wanting to disappoint, you know, your loved ones. Because of how much you love them. Yeah. You know, and how much you respect them, and you said it earlier, like, realizing how many things had to line up for us to be here. And when you realize that, you don't want to let them down. Yeah. And you know that, you know, a version of them might be let down if your authentic self comes out. And so, yeah, there's a part of you like, maybe I'll just keep it, hiding it. Yeah. And, like, I think you always know that. Like, you
when there's a part of me that I'm hiding from someone, even if they don't consciously know it, there is an energetic difference that creates a wall between us for anyone.
I agree. Wow, I did not think we'd be talking about that today. So if we were to go back to Steppenwolf, it was 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Did you have a job? Because you said it was 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay.
I would drive for like Uber or Lyft occasionally.
Okay.
But like, no, I had like, not only did I have to pay tuition for it, but I also had to like be able to live and not have a job during it.
Okay. But worth it.
The actor training was unparalleled to anything. Like it was incredible. It also was the thing that actually sent me to therapy was one of my acting teachers. We were doing these exercises that were all built around like trying to figure out what motivates you, what activates you, like what are you passionate about. And all of mine always involved helping other people. And my acting teacher, who is now one of the co-artistic directors of Steppenwolf, Audrey Francis, she said to me, she's like, are you just obsessed with making yourself the hero of everyone else's story? And that got me, because I was like, no, it's not about being a hero. It's about like actually helping other people. But the real question was like, what ways am I helping myself? Or what ways am I helping other people that is a detriment to me? Or what ways am I hiding from what I should be doing with myself and my own work, and instead putting it on other people? So like, if I could, I'd go back and do that actor training program again today, because I'm a totally different person. It would be totally different.
Like you'd maybe take on different roles, or in what way?
I'd take on different roles, but also like before Steppenwolf, I thought of acting as performance, like putting something on, like how do I convince the audience of XYZ? And kind of the whole ethos of Steppenwolf and the way I think about acting now is my job as an actor is not to convince you that let's say I'm in a play and I find out my best friend dies. I used to think my job as an actor was to convince you as the audience that like I'm sad. Like, let me show you I'm sad that my friend died. The actual work of an actor is to set up imaginary circumstances in a way that when I hear my best friend has died, I don't have to manufacture the sadness. I get to experience it. And being on stage is all about actually going through that sadness in whatever way it looks like, so that the audience can be a witness to it.
From an actor's perspective, is that rejuvenating or is that draining? Does that fill your cup or drain your cup by the end of each? Right, both? Okay.
Because like Amy Morton, who
is that Chicago PD?
Yeah.
Amy Morton, yeah.
Yeah, but she's a Steppenwolf actor.
Okay.
I think she got her Tony for August Osage County, and there's a very famous scene in it where like she finds out her dad has died, and she did it for eight times a week for weeks and weeks here in Chicago, and then weeks and weeks in New York, and then weeks and weeks here in Chicago when they brought it back. Wow. And she talked about how like she had to step away from acting afterwards because it was the emotional cost was so much to her that after a while she had to like close that box and like go take care of herself in other ways, you know? I think the rejuvenating part as an actor is knowing that you've touched someone in the audience, right? And the more authentic you can show up on stage, the more opportunity you have to like actually touch people in the audience.
Like that shouldn't be your goal. That is a byproduct of experiencing what you need to experience. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So were there opportunities that lined up after Steppenwolf?
Yeah. So it was interesting. Steppenwolf was all acting focused. A lot of my work after Steppenwolf was actually dance focused, or I was hired because I was a dancer.
Okay.
So doing like a lot of, I think just Steppenwolf in general gave me a lot of confidence as a person and as a performer. And then I started doing a lot of like musical theater, because that's like what actually pays the most money here in Chicago, because a musical is going to have a cast of 30 and a play might have a cast of 2. So there's like a lot more opportunity over there.
Okay.
But then the acting work I got to do, I understudied at Steppenwolf. I understudied a show at Steppenwolf. And I was so excited to do it. And I hated the experience. I hated it because it asked me to show up in a very specific way, right? As the understudy, replicating someone else's performance, like doing exactly what they're doing. It asked me to be so small.
So what does that mean? Do you have to be ready to sub in? Is that what an understudy is?
Yeah, so I would check in at the theater every day before the show, and if the actor that was normally playing the role, if they showed up to the theater, once the show started, I could go home.
Okay.
But if that actor got sick or didn't show up to the theater, I had to be able to jump right in.
Okay.
And do a show in front of an audience that like I had never done in front of an audience.
Sure.
And that was a 2-man show, and the other person was the co-artistic director at Steppenwolf. So like if I was going to go on, not only was I performing on stage for all of these people,
but high stakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like that was really formative and like making me realize like I don't want to do that. I want to be, because the whole time I was like I should be on stage. Not that the person that I was understudying was a bad actor. He's a great actor. It's Chris Perfetti. He's on Abbott Elementary.
Oh.
He's wonderful.
Oh wow.
But like I had a different take on the character because of my lived experience that was different from his. But I didn't get hired for my lived experience.
Yeah.
I got hired to replicate his.
Sure.
So it really showed me that, you know what, as a actor, as an artist, as a person, I actually have a lot to say, and I only want to be in spaces that are inviting me to say it.
I think there was definitely a fork in the road of like, this is part of that journey.
Yep.
And you're putting yourself in line for opportunities.
Yep.
And it's just kind of embrace the suck at the moment, right?
Yep. Someone said, like when people are like, oh, it's a quote, great opportunity, right? That the reframe for that is like, okay, well, what am I going to be held accountable to? So it's like understudying at Steppenwolf, great opportunity. What am I held accountable for? Knowing the script perfectly, knowing the script as the actor performs it, not necessarily as how it's written, being ready to perform at the drop of a hat, but then probably never getting a chance to, and being okay with the fact that if I perform, it's not going to be perfect, and that has to be okay that it's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be accountable to those things anymore. Glad I did it.
Yeah.
Glad I had the opportunity. So the other work I've done a lot as a performer is as a swing. So in theater, you have like your principal actors, your main characters, and then in like musicals, you have your ensemble, right? And people in the ensemble understudy the lead actor. So if a lead actor goes out, the ensemble member gets bumped up, but then there's a hole in the ensemble. So the swing is the understudy that understudies several people in the ensemble. So I'd get hired to come into shows and learn 8 different versions of the show.
Wow.
And then be at the theater every moment in case someone got hurt or went out.
It's a necessary evil, right? And evil is probably a severe word. It's just, it's necessary. I feel like it's necessary.
The state of like the theater world necessitates that. Mm-hmm. Someone has to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm good at it. A+ Austin is so good at it. I can know all of those things, right? But I don't like it. I don't like the way it makes me feel.
Yeah.
It feels great to show up in the moment and be the hero, but I don't like how I feel when I go home.
It felt like just another rung to the next stage.
Yep.
Right? But at the same time, it's like you get to observe. I don't know. You're at some people's peaks of like getting to be in certain circles.
There's a lot of people who make their living as a swing, and they're great at it, and they do it in a way that's sustainable for them. And I decided that, like, I don't know how to make it sustainable right now, and I'd rather not do it than keep trying to figure it out.
Interesting. With all the therapy you've done now, is your ego a little bit more graceful with that if you were to do that again?
I think it's just like an understanding that, like, I have far more to give than anything that would be asked for me as a swing, right? Like, my gifts and my talents are best utilized as the director or as the main character, where I can like actually action things that I think should be actioned, as opposed to filling in a spot.
Yeah.
And I think that's not cockiness ego, but that's like an understanding of the perspective I bring and being confident in that. And then also what I ended up doing was walking away from the theater world for now, because like it's a crazy industry. But like, if there's not room for me right now, I'm not going to keep fighting to make room. Like, I'm going to keep the love of what I know I can do and return to it when it makes sense. Right. That's how I got into plants, is because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
That's so wild.
So I started like selling the plants I was growing in my apartment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what year was that? 2020, 2021? Like when you stepped away?
My last gig was early 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that also swinging at that time?
It was a show I had auditioned for that I didn't get hired for. And then once the show opened, they fired an actor. So everyone got bumped up. So they needed a new swing. So they hired me to come in, learn the show in 2 days, and then be able to perform 8 different roles at the drop of a hat.
How many auditions did you do where you kept getting put in that position, where you weren't getting the roles you were auditioning for, but you would get kind of, the understudy or the swing position? I
hadn't been auditioning for the lead roles.
Oh, what were you auditioning for?
As a dancer.
Oh.
Because I was like, I can do this thing. I didn't have the confidence of self to be like, I deserve to be the lead. Back then. I was like, oh, I can dance. I can fill in this ensemble role. Let me do that. So the understudy position at Steppenwolf was actually the huge shift in being like, oh, I was so close, being the understudy for that role. I was so close to like actually getting to do that, like getting to be the lead, getting to make the choices, that I realized like, oh, I have a lot of magic there, and that's actually where I want to be. I only want to be in that part. And I don't want, if I continue to be all the things around that thing, it will kill me.
Yeah.
And so I tried for a long time.
That's pretty severe. It'll kill you?
It nearly did.
Wow.
Because 2 years afterwards, I ended up in treatment.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the knowing what I was capable of, but trying to convince people of that, trying to show them that, trying to prove that, wasn't working for me anymore. I was exhausted by it.
Okay.
So then I like created this silly little plant business where like now people come to me with like all their plant advice, or from all my plant advice, and like I get to be who I am, and I get to shine and show what I do best.
So maybe full circle moment of like, that's your essence, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like the reason I started theater was so that I can hopefully impact people's lives and change something small in their life, I hope, right? And like I think my workshops are doing the same thing. Like people are coming in for connection, people are coming in to learn about plants, the thing I say about my workshops, and they've changed quite a bit since you came to one of the early ones, but the house plants are kind of like the trick to get people there. Like people think they're coming for the house plant. What they actually get is so much more. Life and what I've learned from life, my story, right? Like connection. So the the plant is kind of just the excuse for people to show up.
It's a vessel, yeah.
Absolutely.
How did you find yourself in the brewery niche? Like when you saw that you selling your plants from your home was gaining traction, and you might want to host did you ever host sessions at your home then, or no? Okay, so like, you know, when you wanted to take it to the next level, what other spaces besides breweries were you exploring, and then how did you find yourself in breweries?
I tried doing plant shops. I tried like popping up at plant shops and being like, I can bring
fittingly, right? Yeah,
because like you have the customers there. But what I found was like it was too close, right? Like a lot of the plant shops were like weird about how much I wanted to charge, because they wanted a cut of it too. Like they were weird about, they didn't really have any incentive to like promote even my workshops, because it brought people into their store, but you know, so I realized like, the plants at the plant stores was like a little too close. And I did a couple of workshops at plant shops. I also have a Houseplant 101 class that I was teaching at like plant shops, but the idea of popping up at breweries and distilleries was a little bit like, it's already happening for like paint and sip, like and bingo night and like stuff like that, and realizing like we have a lot of these breweries that have big spaces, so for them to give me a space for the evening doesn't really cost them much. But if I can bring 12, 20, 30 people in on a Tuesday night, they, you know, that's 30 people that are buying beers for them for the night. So that's when like I was like, oh, and then people who just want an excuse to go to a brewery can still come to my workshop, right? So like my kokedama workshop is actually kind of just like the beginning, where if people then want to do a Houseplant 101 class, or if they want to bring me into their business to teach a workshop, or if they want me to come to a houseplant house call, it's like I find the plant people because I'm at the breweries doing plants, right? And like realizing like it's also like a great service to the breweries around Chicago. Like there are more people. One of the things I ask on my exit surveys is like, have you ever been here? And like 70% of the people have never been to that brewery before.
Yeah, that was our first time at Dovetail.
Yeah, right? And so like then
always wanted to, but
then I'm able to like the next day email the brewery and be like, hey, thanks for having us. We had 13 people. 8 of them had never been to Dovetail before. Yeah. And then when I reach out to new venues, I can be like, hey, these are how much people I bring in, and about 80% of them have never been, 75, I don't know what my current stats are, but like haven't been there before. Like, and it makes it make sense.
That's
like,
so savvy.
Yeah, a way that it makes sense and helps everyone, right? I don't have to pay for my own space. Nice. I don't have to pay the overhead for that. Yeah. I'm getting in front of people who I wouldn't be getting in front of just at a plant shop. It's helping the breweries. Like, it's a win-win-win.
Yeah. It seems like it right now. And do you envision another iteration of this?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Okay. What does that look like?
Teaching my workshops opened me up to the whole world of like corporate team building activities.
Okay.
So there's a whole world of that to get into. What I really would love to do is have plant shops across the country license my workshops to teach in their own communities, get out of their plant shops and into their local breweries and distilleries. So a way to support not only Chicago community, but all of these other communities as well. My workshops are all about connection and all about leaving what's outside for the 90 minutes we're inside together. And like people come to my workshops and then they sit around and talk afterwards with each other, like people they didn't even know. I think that's what we need the most of right now, is like conversation and connection. And like that's the Grand Canyon I'm headed towards right now.
Okay.
And like who knows what like detours I take.
So scaling the pop-ups.
Yeah.
Brick and mortar isn't really interesting right now.
No, if I did a brick and mortar, it would be not just plants. It would be like a really cool bar with like a lot of plants and like hosting other artists to teach workshops and stuff there. Like,
There's a lot of plants in La Pangyo in
Oh, yeah.
Ukrainian village. If you
I've
ever
never
had
been.
soup dumplings on Chicago and like Damon? Right
No.
there? By the McDonald's over there.
You'll have to send it to me.
La Pangyo, yeah, it's a good soup dumpling shop.
Yeah.
Tell me about your relationship with the Osage tribe.
Yeah. So I'm technically a member of the tribe.
Mm-hmm.
There's about 20,000 of us.
Mm.
A lot of them live in Oklahoma and on like the reservation itself.
Okay.
My grandfather's father, his name was Robert McAfee Hunt. He was one of the first 2,000 Osage to receive their oil head right. So when the Osage, who were indigenous to the Great Plains area, when they were sent west by the new U.S. government, they bought their land back from their reservation land. They bought from the government instead of accepting it as a gift. So then they retained all the rights for anything found on that land. So when they found oil, they were able to lease it back to the federal government.
This is Oklahoma or St. Louis?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, okay.
Right outside of Pawhuska. So in 1902, they became the richest people in the world per capita, just because there were only about 2,000 of them at the time, and they had all this oil that they were able to sell back to the federal government.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if any part of them was like, nah, I don't want to sell this.
No, they were like, oh, this was not our land. This was not the land that we were originally on. But if you're going to say this is our land, then this is our land. And if you want that oil, you will pay us for it. So yeah. Then what happened is there was a whole group of men who came in and murdered the indigenous men and took their wives to be able to get that oil head right. So there are, to this day, a lot of Osage people who look very, very white because of the infiltration of the white people for that wealth. Oh
my God.
Yeah. The movie Killers of the Flower Moon charts all of it. With Martin Scorsese directed it, and it's the story of the Osage people and the Osage murders. That is one of the reasons the FBI was founded, was because when the Native men ended up mysteriously murdered, the Oklahoma government refused to investigate because it was Osage land, it wasn't Oklahoma land. So the Osage people they went to DC to lobby for the federal government to investigate, and one of the first things the FBI investigated was the Osage murders.
Damn.
Yeah. And my grandpa was always big. Like when we were born, he was super big and like making sure we were registered with the tribe and like we have our tribal number and all of that. Like being a registered member and like getting health benefits is my main connection to the Osage tribe. Like culturally, I'm not connected to them at all. I tell the story of the Osage murders and what happened in my workshops as a way to honor the people who came before me, right? I also like fully recognize the like privilege of being a white man in this society. I don't walk around being like, but I'm Native, you know? But I think it's important we tell that story. It's a story that was very almost nearly erased from history. And we're living in a time right now where people's stories are being erased all around us. So being able to recognize that and honor that and realize that, yeah, that's a story from 100 years ago, but like it's also a story happening around the world today too.
Is there a part of you that wants to be culturally closer with the tribe?
Purely from a connections point of view, right? Purely from being curious and like I think especially when it comes to nature, like indigenous people like have been taking care of the land far longer than white people have been. I know that like there culturally there is a place for me there if I wanted it.
Yeah.
I'm also just cognizant of the white privilege and of.
I know. It was Grandpa White passing as well?
He was, but like if you like said he was Native American, you'd be like, oh yeah, he definitely is.
Oh.
So very light skinned.
Yeah.
But
you know, like I'm sure every line has wrestled with that.
Yeah.
Almost. I don't know if imposter syndrome is kind of an appropriate term, but of like, do I deserve to be a part of the tribe if I don't kind of visually, aesthetically look like them?
Yeah.
Or not just even visually, but like just feeling guilty for what happened, you know, like way back in time,
and like that feeling guilty doesn't benefit me. Right? Like feel like if I felt guilty about it and didn't talk about it, that actually wouldn't benefit anyone. Right? But like to accept the privilege that I have and how I look, but to still talk about the story, right? Without saying this is super personal to me, right? Or like I think that's part of our responsibility as people of privilege.
Yeah. And I wonder if the tribe would appreciate any forms of a mediator or bridge, right?
For sure.
To almost utilize that privilege.
Yeah, and like I think a lot of people are really impacted by the story of the Osage that I tell in my workshops. And I'm not sitting here to say that's the experience I've lived, but instead to point towards what's happened, right? I know that like there are like the idea of like being part of the tribe and like being native like is very welcoming. Like they would like I would be absolutely welcome on the reservation, and to be like part of the culture. But like I don't know if I need that as much as I need to acknowledge and appreciate it, right?
Yeah, like what's enough, you know?
Yeah.
Or, what do you really need?
Yeah. Like it would be super interesting for me, but I also wouldn't want to do it in a way that it would to serve me, right? To serve what I'm doing, but instead to.
Yeah, I wonder if it might. I mean, I wonder if it would add more depth or color to your workshops, or you know.
It would 100% would, but it's also not something that like I'm reaching for to like solve a problem.
No, yeah.
Or to be able to say I did it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the words to put together, but like you don't want to take advantage of them, you know, in that sense of like for to be self-serving. Like you're not, you know, trying to like, let me get in the tribe so I can bring more narratives and stories into my plant workshops.
Right, but like by the same token, like Martin Scorsese, who's a white man, like made this hundreds of millions of dollars budget movie about it, and he didn't do it from a place of this is going to make a great movie. It was going to, and it did because of who he is and everything he's done before. But it really came from a place of like honoring that story and those people. And I think like we can, in all the different ways that we have privilege, we can always draw an awareness to the injustice that maybe we still benefited from, right? We can still talk about the dangers of patriarchy, even though we're direct beneficiaries of it as well. And in fact, I think that's our responsibility, right? In places that we have privilege, to acknowledge the privilege and to remind people of those who don't have that privilege, in a way of to honor them and uplift them and to bend the arc back towards justice.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Come back to center.
Yeah.
we can go for hours. Is there anything else you want to share before we hop off today?
Yeah. I don't know. We touched on a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
that's good.
I think the thing that was like really transformative for me in my life came from plants.
Okay.
Right. All my breakthroughs in therapy always come from my plants. Which is like so cool that like that is the kind of the lens that I've been exploring the world and seeing the connections. But I think you can do that with anything. It's food for some people, right? It's like making art for some people. It's being a parent for some people, right? But the thing that really got me was I was telling my therapist was asking like, okay, tell me what do you love about your plants? What are, why do you like them? What's going on? And I was like, well, I like that they don't need anything from me. I like that like I can just do the best that I know to do for them, and I can constantly learn from them. And then like I don't have to be attached to the outcome. Like I can, if I like have this idea of like, I remember very early on I was like, oh, if I take this rooting hormone that like helps plants root better and I mix it with this water nutrient, make a paste, I can put it on the roots of these plants and it'll be like nutrient dense and they'll grow more roots. Well, it completely starved the roots of oxygen. They all rotted off and the plant died. But like, instead of being like, oh, I'm so dumb, I can't believe I did that, it was like, no, that was actually a smart idea, but I just didn't know what it was going to do. So like being able to be like, oh, well, I'm not doing that again, right? And like constantly learning. And so I was like telling my therapist about this, and she was like, so why do you not have the same amount of compassion like for yourself? How come you're always comparing your journey to like someone else's? Or how come when you try something and it doesn't work, you think that that's a curse from the universe, or like, says anything about who you are, instead of being curious and like being able to learn from it.
Yeah.
And like recognizing that the days that I know I need to do things to my plants, and then the days between when I actually do the thing for my plants, just the recognition of that is important. Like being in touch with them enough to know it, and then being okay with the amount of time it takes to actually do it is fine, right? Like if in that in-between time a plant dies, well, now I know I like should have done something a little sooner. But like, how can I bring that into my life? How can I like bring this ease and this
grace
and this confidence of not being attached to time, this like crunchiness and this like perfectionism? Like, how can I bring that into my life in a way that I'm okay with?
Well, how do we can't finish the episode without talking about wabi sabi, right? So like, how does where did you pick that up from?
As part of a way to honor bonsai and kokedama as a primarily Japanese art, like they're the ones who really honed it in and made it what it is today. But also just the idea that wabi sabi is a compound word. Wabi has more to do with imperfection. Sabi has more to do with incompleteness and the passage of time. So when you put the two together, it's about how you can find beauty in imperfect things and incomplete things. Imperfect, incomplete, and impermanent things, right? So like a great example of wabi-sabi is kintsugi, where they take pottery that's broken and then they seal it back together with gold, so it has all these gold cracks in it, and it actually makes it more beautiful. And so instead of looking at the broken pot on the floor and throwing it away, you're able to make something more beautiful than it originally was, because it has this gold in it. But the beauty of it is highlighting the fact that it was broken before, right? And so bringing that into our lives of like, how can we appreciate what's not done. Like if we're going to the Grand Canyon, how can I appreciate that journey even if we're not even there yet, if it's incomplete? How can I go through my day and appreciate it even though it didn't go perfectly how I wanted it to? Because I have two options. I can either be hardened by the imperfect things and the incomplete things, or I can choose to find the beauty in them. I can choose to find the thing to focus on that makes getting through that time tolerable, right?
Yeah.
At least at first. And then you start to be able to find the beauty in it. And that's like something that's really, I think, absent from our culture. There's a lot of perfectionism in our culture, and there's a lot of buckling down and doing the damn thing, right? And it's like, yeah, there's a place for it, right? So I watered my plants yesterday, and it took me 5 hours to water all my plants and like do the chores that they needed, and they've needed it for 2 weeks. But like I knew that the time and day would come when I was ready to do that. And that when I had the bandwidth, and I could do it from a place of joy, out of a place instead of a place of obligation, right? Just bringing that sense of ease. And like plants are never perfect. Like, yeah, you'll see a perfect plant on Instagram, but you will never see a perfect plant in nature, right? A tree always has a dead part to it, or it's like twisted, or an animal comes and eats all the leaves off this one plant, right? And it's like, but they're still they persist. Still they are resilient.
Yeah.
They find a way.
Nature can be unforgiving sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It absolutely can. But like, you never know what the universe is going to give you in a very scary way, right? And I could step out of here today and something could happen that could change my life forever. And the only option I have is figuring out how I navigate that change. I can't stop that change. I can't prevent that change. Maybe a magic genie could tell me, hey, on this date, this thing is going to happen to you. But I can't do anything to prepare for that. I can't despite my best efforts of trying to prepare, all I can do is like actually do what's happening in the moment. Stay present. Find the beauty.
Yeah, it makes you think of like the cancer prognosis of like how much time you have left, and typically you come to kind of an awakening of like, okay, well, either after I get all my affairs in order, what am I going to do to squeeze all the juice I have left out of life? And I think if you go that route, you kind of question also like, why haven't I lived like this forever?
Yeah, I was like, there's movies where people get told they're sick and they only have a certain amount of time to live, and they completely change their life, and then they survive, or it was an accident, right? And then they're like, oh, I'm so much happier now though. Like the quote bad thing was the thing that made me action all these other things. But like that's all we can do is like roll with the punches of life, right? It's like a big old river, and we can float down it, or we can like try to swim upstream forever. Yeah.
I like in our EMT class too, like day one is like I'm handing the students a floaty. And it's going to start out like a lazy river, and at times it's going to become a rapid, and at times it's going to be a waterfall. And there will be times where there could be an accident, there could be a death in the family, a vacation, you have midterms outside of this class, things that are pulling you out of your floaty. And by the time you're ready to come back in, your floaty's down the line. And wherever you hopped out, you might have hopped out at a rapid, at a lazy river, or a waterfall, and you have to find your floaty to come back in.
I love the analogy of the rapids, and like people whitewater rafting, and like your expectation of the rapids completely changes how you feel about it, right? Because if you're in a shipwreck and you're floating down the river and you're not prepared, the rapids are dangerous and awful and life-threatening. if you're on vacation and you're with a professional guide, it might be scary, but you're doing it to have fun, right? The only difference, like, same rapids. The only difference is, like, what is your preparation, but mostly, like, what's your outlook and what are you looking for in it? If you're looking to have fun, you're gonna find fun. If you're looking for danger, you're gonna find danger. But regardless of either of those, like, it's still the rapids.
Yeah.
So a lot of it has to do with how are you mentally going into that thing.
Yeah, I agree. Austin, it was a pleasure. Appreciate you sharing so much and being as vulnerable as you were. Where can people find you if they're not already following you?
Uncommon Plant Guy. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
Website looks good.
Thank you. I'm actually in the middle of rebuilding my website, so it works a lot better for me.
Okay.
But in the new year, I'll also have some at-home kits I'm able to launch. Ship home to people too. So
we just did. We went to it was my first Chicago Humanities event, and Nick Offerman was on U of C's campus. We missed probably the first 45-50 minutes. We were stuck in, like, No King's traffic from downtown, and he just came out with a second woodworking book with his friend, and I think they were, like, the co-owner or manager of his woodworking workshop. Their name is Lee. But they put on a great show. I think there were some songs along the way and some stories, and but they also made their own woodworking kits to go along. Not that you have to buy them, but, like, I think there's this creative aspect and then the, like, entrepreneurial aspect that can dance together.
Yeah, that's I think that's where I'm at. Is, like, how can they keep feeding both? And, like, living in a capitalist society, things have to happen, but, like, how can I still touch people's lives and impact them through all that too? Yeah. And making sure that both of those things are intertwined and not just one in service completely of the other. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure you'll be back, Austin. we Justine and I, we have to come to another workshop soon. But thank you, Austin. And for you listening, thank you. Give Austin a follow. And we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.